So make a histogram using this information. It'll slightly differ from problem to problem, but one thing we're always going to do is use 10 sets of 10 interval in the directions it says use 0 for 9, 10 through 19, and so on. So the first thing you want to do is look at all the data and figure out, well, where do you need to start? Do we need to do a 0 through 9? Are there any numbers 0 through 9 here? No. 10 through 19? No. So we really don't need to start making an interval until we get to the 70s. So your first interval will be 70 through 79. And the way we're making our intervals is that the first digit's going to be the same. That's a good way to remember. So our next interval will be 80 through 89, 90 through 99. Is there anything higher than 99? There's 100, so we got to do one more interval. Just like that. You're making this chart on number 1. Just make a very similar chart on your number 1. Okay? If there's one that happened to have like all 70s, no 80s, and then had 90s and 100s, you would still have the 80s there. You wouldn't skip it and leave it off. So once we start at 70, we're not going to skip any numbers. Just in our bar graph, we would have no bar. Another thing is you got to be very careful that you never do, which is a common mistake actually. A lot of people do 70 through 80 on the first one, and then do 80 through 89 or 80 through 90 on the second one. So if these both have 80, you can only count each number once. Where would you put the 80 if they both had an 80 in there? So it makes sense that you never have any overlapping numbers. Don't finish with a number here and start with the same number here. It has to be fit into one category. Every number has to fit into one interval only. Another way of looking at what we just did is that saying 70 through 79 is like saying those are all 70-something. These are all 80-something. These are all 90-something. These are all 100-something. Well, 100 through 109. So how many numbers are in the 70s of this? And you can just go through and count them off. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And I could do this 1, 2, 3, or just count them as I go along. Do the same thing for how many in the 80s? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't know how to do tally, you usually do every fifth. You actually put a line through, so it's always groups of 5. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the diagonal. How many in the 90s? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 total. And how many in the hundreds? Or 100 from 109? That would be just 1. Either one's fine. Don't have to do both. All right, next, let's go ahead and make a histogram. So this is called the frequency table. And you might look at this and say, well, do I really need to do the tallies? I'd say no, it's not really that necessary. But if you're one that just kind of likes to count as you go along, that's fine. As you saw how I did it, I just counted all the 70s at once. The tallies are really good if you're just going, okay, 80, 1 for 80, 70, 1 for 70, 99, 1 for the 90s, 77, okay, now 2 for the, and you're going in a direct order from left to right, top to bottom. I just counted all the 70 alls at once. I didn't really need tallies, so it's up to you how you want to do it. In any case, make sure this, how many data points are there here total? How many numbers are there? 15, right? Just make sure this adds up to the same amount. That should add up to 15. If not, it means you forgot, you left off a number, or whatever process you used, didn't work. So you shouldn't have any fewer anymore. Sometimes if you're being distracted or you're talking at the same time, it doesn't add up right. So remember, we're just counting. Going 1, 2, 3, you learned that in kindergarten. So even though it's very simple, basic, it still can be messed up if you're not full attentive to what you're doing. All right, the next thing is we're just going to graph all these. Okay? So I'm going to graph 70 through 79. I'm going to graph 3 of them. And the 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you don't. You're just going to sketch it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're just gonna sketch it. And we have let's see, 4 here. So we're gonna have, let's see, 70 through 79. Okay. We're gonna have 80 through 89. We're going to have 90 through 99, and 100 through 109. There we go. So my 70 through 79 will go up to 3. Like that. My 80 through 89 will go up to 5. My let's see here. My 90s will be up all the way up to 6. And then my 100 just go up to 1. And you can just color them in with the detail that I am. It doesn't have to be super exact. It's just that it's shaded in some fashion. And that's a histogram right there. Frequency table, histogram, same exact information. One's a graph, one's a table. It's like we always do. It's like we used to do a T-chart and X and Y T-chart, and you graph the line with the X's and Y's. Same ideas. Instead of having an X-axis, we have an interval axis. So the bottom, the thing that makes this different from a bar graph is that the bottom is always the interval, and the vertical is always the frequency. So the special bar graph where it's only intervals and frequencies only. And journal. That is that. So not too bad, just a lot of organization. Please use a straight edge. One things I do want to show you later when we have more time is how to do this on Excel. So if you're actually typing up a report for science or any class really, you don't want to have everything typed up, but then your graph is by hand. Just doesn't look clean, doesn't look professional type of thing. You want it to look good. So I have all the same information right here, and here are my intervals. I only have to put one number, whatever the top number is. So right here means 70 through 79, 89 through 80 through 89, and so on. So it's a little bit different. Then you can tell it. I go to the Data tab, Data Analysis. There's a histogram. There's a lot of things on this list. Pick histogram, and you tell it, well, where are your input? And they're right here. Where are your intervals? They call them the bin. Okay, the bin. And then I want to make a chart output. Hit OK. There's my frequency table. And there's my output, my histogram. And then of course you can click on it, and we want to put the gap at 0 so there's no gap. And just like that. Okay, get the same thing. So very, very easy to do with Excel if you know what to push. If you don't know what to push, this could take hours. So just know that the tools are there. And of course, once you do that, you get to customize everything and change the headings and everything. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. Don't forget about the box and whisker place I showed you to check your answers there. I'm really leaving up to you guys to make sure you're checking your work with each other and using online sources to help you. And hopefully if we have time, I'll go back, we'll get out the computers, and everybody will make the histograms using a laptop, so you have that for any class you ever take, because I guarantee at some point, whether it's a math class or not, you'll need to make one of these for some presentation. And you want to put it on a PowerPoint or a Prezi, you want it to look nice, here's an easy way of making it. Okay.